Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to Orioles on the Verge. This is Zach Spedden, joined as always by Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens. And for the second year in a row, we are going to grade bold listener predictions. We open it up in our Discord chat over the weekend for listeners to submit their bold prospect-related predictions. And we got a lot of really good ones, which we're excited to break down on tonight's show, which is brought to you by IQ Bar, our exclusive snack, hydration, and coffee sponsor. IQ Bar protein bars, IQ Mix hydration mixes, and IQ Joe mushroom coffees are the delicious, low-sugar, brain and body fuel you need to win your day. The Ultimate Sampler Pack is a great way to try all IQ Bar products and flavors. You get 9 IQ Bars, 8 IQ Mix sticks, and 4 IQ Joe sticks. All IQ Bar products are clean label certified, entirely free from gluten, dairy, soy, GMOs, and artificial ingredients. All IQ Bar products are packed with clean, delicious ingredients that keep you physically and mentally fit, like magnesium, lion's mane, and more. With over 20,000 5-star reviews and counting, more people than ever are fueling their busy lifestyles with IQ Bar's brain and body boosting bars, hydration mixes, and mushroom coffees. Their Ultimate Sampler Pack includes all 3. IQ Bars become part of my daily routines, whether it's starting my morning with IQ Joe, grabbing an IQ Bar or IQ Mix to refuel, rehydrate after a hard workout. And right now, IQ Bar is offering our special podcast listeners 20% off all IQ Bar products, including the Ultimate Sampler Pack, plus free shipping. To get your 20% off, text MLB to 64,000. Text MLB to 64,000. That's MLB to 64,000. Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details. Last year, for the first time, we had an episode where we graded bold listener predictions. And what we did was we went on a 20 to 80 scouting scale after hearing a prediction and graded it. This year, we're going to do a little bit differently because I was reminded of this as I was listening to our podcast from last year. We had a hard time even figuring out our own criteria, whether we should grade it on its boldness or its plausibility. So this year, we're going to do both. So we'll read a prediction off, and somewhere on the 20 to 80 scale, we'll have to decide where to rank that prediction based on its boldness and on its plausibility. Now, I will admit I did not get through the entire episode before we recorded tonight, but some of the bold predictions from last year that stood out. Vivek said that Dylan Beavers would be Kyle Tucker light last year. Beavers, of course, went on to win International League MVP and made his Major League debut in August. So I think that one turned out pretty well. And EJ said that Levi Wells would be a top 10 prospect in the Orioles system at the end of the year. Wells is not universally considered a top 10 prospect, but he is in ours, and he's certainly been in the mix. So that was a bold prediction that definitely worked out for EJ. And we're going to dive in now to our first prediction, which is coming from Vivek. He says the Orioles will have 3 left-handed pitchers in the top 100 by year's end, and they are Luis De Leon, who's already ranked by some outlets as the top 100 prospect, Joseph Jirwa, who we talked about a lot on our episode earlier this week, and Boston Bateman. So, Nick, how are you grading Vivek's prediction that all 3 of those pitchers will be top 100 prospects by year's end?
All right, so I think I've got the grading down here. So I'm going to say 60 on the boldness scale, 30 on the plausibility. I think Jirwa has the momentum to get there, especially if that first start was a real sign of things to come. Bateman, I just feel like Bateman's got to come out of the gates like blazing hot. And unfortunately, we didn't get to see him on Sunday in Frederick because that game was rained out. But without having seen what he looks like this year before we recorded this, by the time this comes out, he may have gotten his first start, and maybe he shoved like his teammates did in Frederick, and things could be a little bit different. But for right now, I'm going to say that's a tough one, I think, to get all 3 in the top 100.
Yeah, shout out to Vivek for that Dylan Beavers light comp. I mean, he's been talking about that for a couple of years now, and I mean, it certainly worked out in 2025. And if you're watching this video, I'm in witness protection, apparently. My camera is just not cooperating, but shout out to Vivek and EJ for those good picks. This one, I'm going to have to agree on the 60 for the boldness. I'll give it a 45 on the plausibility. I mean, obviously LDL is already there, We talked about Giroux on the first episode of this week's podcast, and yeah, could certainly see that. And Bateman, who knows? He's still super young. He's got a lot of experience for his age, and if he makes some tweaks and comes out dominating, I could see it. I mean, obviously, I would love to see it, but I think it could happen.
Yeah, I'm going to go 60 on the boldness, and I'll go 35 on the plausibility. I agree with Nick that Bateman's the one that right now I'm not sure that I feel like is going to be top 100 level at the end of this year. I think he could be better than he was last year, but not quite top 100. De Leon's already there by some outlets, and I don't see that hype slowing down anytime soon. And with Giroux, if last Friday is a sign of what's to come, he might be on some top 100s by midseason.
Nice. Sorry, so if you're listening to this on the podcast version, we're doing this live Monday night when it was 2-1, and Ryan Helsley hanging on for dear life here, and I just saw on the MLB tracker the Orioles got the win. So thank God. As Bob hits the double celly. We'll pick EJ's for the next one here, and he says Joseph Giroux ends the year in Norfolk. What do you guys think about that prediction?
I like it. I think Majors could be even more bold. No, let's not go crazy. I'll say 60 on boldness and 60 on plausibility. I think, look, if he spends a month in Frederick, any more than that, I'd be surprised. Unless he really tanks, or I don't even want to say the I word. I think he'll be in Double-A by May, and then I see no reason at that point he wouldn't have enough time to potentially get to Norfolk for that little taste at the end of the year that they like to do. So I like the prediction. EJ trying to go 2 for 2 on the bold prediction leaderboard here.
Yeah, I like this one a lot. I'm going to go 60 on boldness and 50 on plausibility. There is precedence for this now, with Trey Gibson having gone 3 levels last year. So it could happen that he goes 3 levels in his first full year. The main thing is going to be health, and then how he makes that adjustment at some point from level to level. But this one, I think this is a good one.
Yeah, I said 50 and 50. It's just solid all the way around. It is going to be interesting to see how they treat him, because I like the Gibson shout out. He didn't even pitch. Bob Zach. Gibson didn't pitch that final year of college ball. Meanwhile, Giroux went 74 innings as a freshman to 84 to 91 last year in college. Granted, those are college innings, but it's still the Big Ten. So he's facing fairly decent competition every single weekend. So I don't see why he couldn't get to 120 or so innings in a full healthy year. Maybe a little less, maybe a little more, with a few of those to end the year in Norfolk. So hopefully that first start there was a sign of more good things to come.
All right, next up we have A-Gel21, who wants to know Brian Arancia, 14th rounder in 2025, goes 3 levels this year, wants to know, I'm in the mailbag mode, predicts that he will go 3 levels this year, starting in low A, ending in double A. I just talked about him as my outside the top 30 segment, brought to you by Checker Spot Brewery on the last episode. What do we think, Nick?
I like Arancia a lot. The Orioles drafted a lot of JUCO arms last year that could throw 98 in college. He was one of them. Daniel Lopez didn't sign. He's at Kansas. KK Clark sounds like he's on the 60-day IL. May or may not be done for the year. Denton Byler got to start this weekend. He walked a lot of guys, and I don't know if he got any whiffs in that game. I know he had no strikeouts, but it was a rough start for him. Connor Aguirre was not throwing upper 90s when he was in JUCO. Arancia is the most intriguing of that group, but I think he's a project, a fun one, but I don't know. Let's see what his role is. He going to piggyback Mejia all year? What's his role going to be like in Delmarva first, and make sure he can continue to get guys out with that 95+ mile-an-hour fastball and promising secondaries? So I said 70 boldness, 30 plausibility. But that doesn't mean I'm down on Arancia at all. There's a lot of arms, and I feel like he's going to be more of a project, but one that I'm okay if the Orioles take it a little bit slower with Arancia, because I think he does have some of the highest upside among all the arms they drafted last year outside of Quinn and Giroux.
Yeah, I'm actually going to land exactly where Nick went there, 70-30, because the question for me is, before you even look at promoting him to Frederick, what is his role going to be over the course of the season? Right now, he's piggybacking Esteban Mejia, and that could be a useful way to manage both of those guys' innings, because I don't think the Orioles are going to try to be too aggressive with Mejia this year. So that's a way to manage both of their innings, but at the same time, if they do want Arancia to start at some point, would they try to do that in Delmarva first before looking to promote him to Frederick? And that could, in theory, slow down the timetable a little bit. And like Nick said, he is a bit of a project, but one that could be a lot of fun.
Speaking to my heart here, as I had him in my top 30, outside the top 30 segment like I talked about, but I do think it might be a little too bold. I'll say 60 on boldness, 40 on plausibility. I think it's mostly just going to be a room thing. The pipeline gets clogged pretty quickly when you're, and maybe not as much until you start to get to AAA because you can piggyback a lot. But I'm going to say Arancia ends in Frederick and doesn't quite get to Bowie this year.
He did pitch 84 innings in JUCO last year. You've seen that, so
certainly something to keep in mind there. And I'm going to go to one now from Connor that does have a little bit of a major league component to it. Micah Ashman will strike out Jose Ramirez and Chase DeLauder in a playoff game. Nick, I'm sure you really want to start with this one, so I'll let you take it first.
I'm just so happy to see the city of Cleveland. They don't have a lot to be excited about up there in Cleveland, but they do have Chase DeLauder, who is healthy right now, and he is performing very well. He didn't clarify what year, I'll say that. So if it's 2026... I'm going to say 80 grade boldness, 20 plausibility. 2027, 70 boldness, 40 plausibility. It'll rise as the years go on. I know this is an Orioles podcast, but Chase DeLauder bleeds purple just like me, so I am not going to sit here and talk about him straight.
Ravens.
Not Baltimore Raven purple, but... yeah, unless Chase DeLauder is up against the Orioles in a playoff game with a chance to win a playoff game against Baltimore, that's a different story. But other than that, my guy, I'm glad to see him doing well. But no, that's a fun one. Ashman looked great in that. I think he had one or two kind of mishaps in his first outing of the year, relief outing for the Bay Sox. But when you have like 5 strikeouts or something in 2 innings, I believe, he looked good. He had the huge World Baseball Classic performance against Team USA. I'm pretty excited to see how Ashman pans out this year.
Yeah, he looks like he's death to lefties. I'm going to give this an 80 on the boldness and a 20 on the plausibility, but I appreciate the big swing. He's looking like Pete Alonso up there, Connor, taking these hacks. Unfortunately, not quite connecting just yet early in the season.
Yeah, this is a big swing here. I'll go 80-25 just to differentiate a little bit, but it definitely is bold. Now, I don't know what's the bolder part at this point. Micah Ashman being in the major leagues at the end of the year and pitching in a playoff game, or the Orioles being in the playoffs, but we'll see.
Hey, they just took down the White Sox one step at a time. The fundamentals are coming. We'll go to Jug the Pro. Says Thomas Sosa. His bold prediction is Thomas Sosa builds off his hot start, ends the year in AAA as a top 10 prospect in the system, and a borderline top 100 prospect in baseball. What do you guys feel about that prediction?
I love it. This might be my favorite one so far. And obviously we just talked about this a little bit on the last one, and we're riding the high of that opening weekend for Thomas Sosa at 21 years old. But I could easily see, not easily, but I could see this being a situation that plays itself out. Like I said in the last episode, my top 10 is wide open, and if Thomas Sosa does what this is proposing and has a really, really strong AA run, makes it to AAA by the end of the year, looking like a potential corner power hitting outfielder, yeah, I think he will be in at least my top 10 and probably borderline top 100 at that point. So I'm going to say 70-50.
Yeah, I like this one a lot too. I'm going to go 65-65 on it. Because I do think that he's going to get to AAA as long as he maintains this momentum, and if he does that, he's definitely going to be top 10 in the system. The one thing that I don't know about is back-end top 100, because I don't know how national outlets are going to perceive him if it feels like he just came out of nowhere. Not to mention that I still think that there are probably some questions about the defense in right field. And if you have some outlets that see him as a below-average right fielder or more of a DH in the long run, that's going to get his prospect stock dinged a little bit on top 100 lists. But the raw tools for him to be a top 100 caliber prospect are there, and hopefully this is the year that he puts it together.
It's that last part for me that does it for me. You take that part out being the top 100 overall, I'd say like 50-50, maybe 50-60. But I think it's like 70 on boldness, 30 plausibility, just because he's not going to be a top 100 guy, I don't think. He's going to have to really rake. He should end the year in AAA. He should be there by midseason, a little after midseason maybe. And yeah, he could definitely be a top 10 prospect on our list fairly soon. But the top 100, only because of, a lot of these major lists, he's been a pro for 4 years already. And he's already been heavily tagged as the high strikeout corner infield guy. And so even if he has a good year, I think he was included in Baseball America's piece today about, they brought back the Monday hot sheet thing, whatever it is that they do, hottest prospects of the week. They had Sosa, and they just continue to recycle the same line. There's a lot of swing and miss. He's a corner outfielder. So I think a lot of the major outlets are going to continue to ding him. So the top 100 potential, I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, and I don't see them doing that. But yes, the other parts absolutely could come true.
Yeah, I think I misspoke earlier. At 65-45 on this one for me.
Insurance isn't one size fits all. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years now. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they'll show you options that fit your budget. So whether you're picking out your first policy or just looking for something that works better for you and your family, they make it easy to see your options. Visit Progressive.com. Find a rate that works for you with the Name Your Price tool. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
All right, well, half says the Chesapeake will sneak into the minor league playoffs riding a wave of incoming talent from Frederick, and they win the Double-A championship. Zach?
I'm going to go 65 on boldness and 30 on plausibility because a lot has to go right for any team to make the playoffs. And in the case of Chesapeake, our perception of them right now is in this early stage of the season is that there's some talent on the pitching staff, especially in the bullpen, but the lineup, when you get past Aaron Estrada and Thomas Sosa, there's not a whole lot there. I'm hoping that's not the case. I could see a nice year from Ethan Anderson. Maybe Trace Bright's first start of the year is a sign that he's going to get things going again on the mound. And, of course, you've got Luis De Leon there, who has really high expectations coming into the year, but they would have to have that balance where they're getting players up from Frederick without losing a lot of key guys themselves to either injury or promotions, and that's a really tricky balance to pull off in the course of a minor league season. So I feel like if I felt a little bit better about their roster as it stands right now, I'd see the playoffs as more of a plausibility, but there's a lot of unanswered questions for me to get to the point from where they are now to winning the league championship at the end of the year.
I'd say 80 boldness. I'll give him 35 plausibility because I like that point where, you do have some good pieces there, but hopefully a lot of those good pieces are in AAA. And there is a very, very real scenario, and we'll talk about trades in a second here, but if the Orioles are going to be active buyers at the deadline, then they could move some of those big pieces as well, including some of the guys who are in Chesapeake right now or could potentially find themselves in Chesapeake by the end of the year. So they could get like Irish, Fahiva, Loy, Nick George, Jiro Quinn. Like, those guys could be in Double-A. They could go on a run and get a second-half playoff spot. But, it's the minor leagues. It's the Wild West, especially as the later you get on in the year with all the movement. I see this. I just want to see good player development. If it results in good time for the minor league teams, more money for those teams, good success there on the business side, that's great. But player development first and foremost, and a better quality major league team as well. So if that involves trading prospects, so be it. But yeah, 80-35.
I like this one because to me it's like, just like me watching Frederick last weekend, I'm just getting so pumped up, like, oh my God, this entire team's going to be in Bowie in the second half. They're going to win the second half and take it all, and I like that. But it's 70-30 for me. I mean, maybe if things go excellently, you got Nate George, Vance Honeycutt. I mean, just could run down the Frederick roster and be like, yeah, I could see those guys in Double A and continuing on and not being traded, and who knows. But that's a lot to ask, because I think as fun as the pitching and some of the position players in Chesapeake right now are, I don't think that roster is deep enough to really do any damage until they get a bunch of the Frederick guys, and by then, who knows.
Good. This one from Vivek here. One of Thomas Sosa or Aaron Estrada will be traded at the deadline. Bob, I'm sure you have strong feelings about this one, so why don't you start us off here?
I think I just have a broken heart from reading that. I can't do it. Thomas Sosa is becoming one of my new guys. Aaron Estrada, if things hold, like I said, my top 10 is up in the air, but Aaron Estrada has a huge up arrow for me. Maybe he lands at number 1. I don't know. I hope not. It's pretty bold, but I don't think it would be insane. I'll say 55 boldness. I don't want it to be plausible, but it's probably fairly plausible, because if the Orioles are in the hunt, it might take someone like that. I'll say 55-55. It's a good prediction, but I hate it.
I said I have 40 boldness here. Maybe I bump that up a grade or half a grade. I don't know. I'll say 40 boldness, 60 plausibility. But I don't know. I've said a few times I think Estrada or De Leon gets moved. If you're going to make big moves, you got to trade big guys. And we could see some big prospects go out the door. But the Thomas Sosa thing, I almost wonder if Sosa, he's not going to be as hot as he was in the first 3 games of the year all year. So I do wonder if, given his high strikeout rate and stuff, I do wonder if there is a scenario where you slow play him a little bit and maybe you hide him from the Rule 5 and he doesn't get picked, so you don't need to move him and you don't need to protect him. Depending on how good he plays this year, that could be kind of risky. It could create a really interesting conversation. Estrada, I don't know, if other teams view Estrada the way we think the Orioles do, and we certainly do, and many more prospect evaluators are viewing him, I mean, the Orioles could look at Estrada and say, we got to. If another team sees him as like a potentially starting second baseman in the big leagues, he could have some real value for the Orioles. So I don't think it's crazy if he does get moved, as much as I also would not want to see that happen. But yeah.
Yeah, the tough part of the business here, because you don't necessarily want to see either guy get moved, but I do think it's very plausible. So I'm going to give this a 50 boldness and a 55 plausibility. One thing that's important to note, Nick touched on this, they're both Rule 5 eligible at the end of the year, and the Orioles have a really deep list of players that are going to be Rule 5 eligible for the first time. They've already chipped away at that group by trading Michael Ferret and Wellington Arcina in separate deals this offseason, but if they're going to be in the hunt at the deadline, we know that that group of players, the ones who are going to be Rule 5 eligible at the end of the year, are going to be the first ones they look at moving. Sosa, maybe that is the guy you can slow play, especially if we see some of the swing and miss issues he's had in the past come into play. With Estrada, I know there are question marks about the defense, and they're very valid questions, but the bat has just come such a long way that I have to think that by the deadline, if he's a AAA, especially if he's a AAA, there's going to be teams looking at him saying, okay, if we get him now, he could be our starting second baseman opening day 2027 and be an upgrade over what we have right now.
Can we just trade Jordan Westberg instead?
Well, he's dead, so he's starting to throw, I think they announced today. So
closer to that surgery date.
Yeah, the TJ's coming. I don't want to see Thomas Sosa become somebody else's Anthony Santander. That would be my big fear. But we move on. We have the Enrique Bradfield Jr. block here. There's a lot. He's going to be popular all year. But first one, maybe we can do these a little bit more rapid fire. EJ says Enrique Bradfield Jr. steals 15 MLB bases. Do we want to do each of these individually?
Yeah, we could do it quickly. We can do it quickly.
EBJ steals 15 MLB bases in 2026.
I'll say 50, 60. I think there's a good chance of this. If he's on the team, he's going to be pinch runner, late guy, running a lot.
I'm going to go 60 boldness, 55 plausibility.
I had 60 boldness, 45 plausibility, maybe 50. Yeah, definitely not crazy given the current outfield situation in Baltimore. Bird is the Word says Enrique Bradfield Jr. takes over for Leody Tavares as the fourth outfielder after the All-Star break.
It's bold. Tavares off to a hot start. Cowser already getting crapped on by the fan base after a cold week and a half. I'm going to say boldness 60, plausibility 30.
Yeah, if it was just Bradfield comes up to the majors after the All-Star break, to me it wouldn't be that bold. But Tavares actually has hit fairly well to start the year, and we know one thing that can keep him on this roster all year is that he's probably by far the best defensive outfielder that's in that group right now. So it's a little bit harder for me to see EBJ supplanting him than I would have thought at the beginning of the season. So I'm going to go 60 boldness and 45 plausibility.
I had 60-40. I think we could potentially see some crazy stuff happen this year in terms of roster construction. I don't know. Chris Restatar says, by mid-season, Enrique Bradfield Jr. is the starting center fielder. The Orioles have traded Dylan Beavers, and Colton Cowser and Tyler O'Neill are platooning in right field. There's a lot in this one.
All I know is Dylan Beavers never should play another game at center field, let alone corner outfield. Man, what an adventure that was in, where was it? Pittsburgh? Yeah, that was bad. I get this line of thought. I just don't agree with it. I think Cowser is fine. He had a Rookie of the Year. Should have won Rookie of the Year in his rookie campaign. Great season. Was hurt all of that offseason, all of last year. Yeah, he's still swinging and missing at changeups. That's probably not going to change, but I think he's going to be at least league average with the bat. And he can play capable center field with a really good corner outfield if and when EBJ or whoever can take that over for him. But unless the trade is Dylan Beavers as part of getting like a big starter or reliever closer to the deadline, I just it is bold. I will give it that. I'll say 70 boldness, 35 plausibility.
That's exactly where I have it too, because the boldness of it is definitely there, because you not only have Enrique Bradfield Jr. hitting well enough at AAA that by mid-season you're bringing him up and you're not making him your fourth outfielder or defensive replacement specialist pinch runner. You're making him your everyday center fielder. But at the same time, you're trading Dylan Beavers. And I'd have to think that if the Orioles are going to move Dylan Beavers this year, it's because they're in contention, not because they're selling and they decide they're going to deal Beavers. So you're bringing Bradfield up at that point to be the starting center fielder for a team that is going for it. That is bold. But a lot of things have to break a certain way in order for this to become reality. As I mentioned, Bradfield has to hit well enough at AAA that you feel confident giving him the starting job by mid-season. Dylan Beavers has to have some sort of season where he gets you value in a deal, but you don't necessarily need him on the roster anymore. And Tyler O'Neill has to stay healthy enough that you can feel comfortable rolling with that platoon for the rest of the season and feeling like you're going to have it intact, because having that right-handed complement to Colton Cowser is going to be crucial. And if you're not 100% sure you're going to get that from O'Neill, I don't think you're going to go down that path.
Yeah, I'm in the same agreement there. And my thing with Cowser is like, he's played like 8 games. Can we not already with like trying to just like straight up release him? I feel like at this point, yeah, the guy, if he's we learned last year, of course, he's playing the year with broken ribs, right? 2024, he still hits 24 home runs, has a 119 WRC+, plus, finished the second place in Rookie of the Year voting. He's not striking out a ton so far this year. He's walking at a good clip. He's making contact with the baseball. He's just not landing for hits. But my thing is why I think it's okay to give him a little bit of grace. This isn't the point of the whole episode, but whatever. We'll go on the tangent here. My thing with giving him just a little bit of grace, and I know I'm the big Colton Cowser guy here that's gone on many rants on this show over the years, so I know, take it for what it is coming from me. But his transition to center field, like, that was something that I did worry about a little bit. If he's going to be the full-time center fielder, like, how much is that going to impact the bat, at least in the beginning, while he's getting comfortable out there? Like, I'm going to give him a little bit of play, a little bit of run out there, let him settle into center field first, and then if we're 2 months into the year and he's still hitting like this, then we can have a different conversation. But, yeah. I agree with all what you guys said about the grades and everything, and I do agree with the line of thought as well. It just opened up the can of worms of the whole Colton Cowser discourse going on, and it's annoying. But
Well, to be even more annoying, let's go to Garrett's prediction. No offense, Garrett. The Orioles are going to be looking for a starter and bullpen help at the trade deadline. In order to get these guys, they'll part with EBJ and two of Cade Povich, Brandon Young, Trey Gibson, Nestor Erman, Jerron Watts-Brown, assuming healthy, and Boston Bateman as the biggest names to go. I'm sorry, Garrett, but this is so predictable for you. Not that bold because I guess it's bold because I just don't see the Orioles trading Enrique Bradfield Jr. at the value he probably is at. I'll say 45-30.
I'll go 45-45. It's that group of names is probably where you would start any sort of trade discussion the Orioles would have down the stretch, but at the same time, it's kind of a weird patchwork with the pitchers where you have the Rule 5 eligible guys with Herman and Gibson. Young and Povich, I can't sit here and predict right now reasonably what their value is going to be at the deadline. If their initial returns in the majors so far this year are any indication, they could be nice starting rotation depth for a big league team this season. And maybe that helps you get something of return at the deadline. Or they might struggle over their next couple of outings and they look more like up and down guys again. And Bateman, maybe he's traded, maybe he's not, but the important thing to remember is that he's not Rule 5 eligible and he's still far from a finished product. So the Orioles might feel like there's another gear they can unlock with Bateman before they even want to start thinking about moving him.
And to expand on mine, it's like the EBJ part is the only part that brings it down for me because, well, the boldness it brings up, but the plus, there's no world where I see the Orioles trading EBJ.
yeah, I don't see them trading Enrique Bradfield Jr. either. I said 30 boldness, like 50 plausibility, just because, I mean, those aren't like the big pieces. If you're going to make a real move, those aren't a lot of the big pieces. Yes, Gibson and Herman are very good pitchers, and hopefully they're major league starters. But like big pieces, like I'm thinking like Nate George potentially gets moved. You move a Vahiva Aloy or Ike Irish. You know, if somebody views Aaron Estrada as a starting second baseman in Major League Baseball, Aaron Estrada probably provides a lot of value. Trade a guy like Esteban Mejia. Like that's a big move. I think he has a lot of high value as well. Jerron Watts-Brown is just. I mean, what did they trade to get Jerron Watts-Brown? A reliever on an expiring contract.
Yes, for Anthony Dominguez.
Yeah. So Jerron Watts-Brown was fine when he came over in his time with the Bay Sox last year, but he's beginning the year on the IL apparently now. So yeah, it's just not the biggest names. Bateman, I don't think you're going to flip him that early. So yeah, that's. If they're going to make big moves at the deadline, they're going to have to move bigger pieces.
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you may not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
Go to this one from Eli now, continuing the Joseph Giroux discussion. Eli predicts Joseph Giroux will have a 33% whiff rate on his fastball this season. Bob, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know exactly how to quantify that. I should have looked and see like what the average is. I mean, it sounds plausible because that fastball is legit. It sounds bold. I'm going to say 60-50? Question mark?
I said 70-30. I did rough looking real quick. Like that, you're talking about some. That's the whiff rate on fastballs of some of like your elite closers in baseball right now. So, yeah, look, I think the point is that the fastball has taken a step forward. When he's added that velo, like I mentioned in the last episode when we talked about Giroux, going from touching 95 to sitting 94, 95 is good. And when you have the secondaries that he does, when you have the command that he does, yeah, the extension, the whole thing, like that fastball, it should get a ton of whiffs and a ton of chase. 33%, I think, is pretty high, though. So I went 70-30.
Yeah, I'm going to go 70-35. I just like what Nick said, that would be really elite level. Now, if it was 33% whiff rate at high A, it might be a little bit of a different one, but if we're looking total across the board, that's where I would land. I also don't know if we'll really be able to get a good hard number behind this at the end of the season unless Baseball America or one of the other outlets picks it up. But yeah, this is definitely bold.
And my thought too is that hopefully he's not at high for very long and he's getting pushed and challenged in AA. So that plays a part in it as well. EJ has another one here. He says Jaden Loray is this year's Nate George and goes 3 levels. What do you guys think about that one?
I was thinking of something like this for my own bold prediction at the end of the episode before I saw that this was already here because, yeah, I'm just letting the Orioles talk to me through their usage in spring training, and to me it's like, we love this kid. We want to give him some looks against tougher competition early on. Yeah, I think he's going to be a guy that doesn't even finish the full FCL season before he's up in low A, and then from there maybe he can earn a promotion to high A. I think it is very bold still, though, because Nate George is renowned because it's really tough to do, especially for a high school guy starting in the FCL, which is already starting later than the rest of full season ball. So I'll say 60 boldness, 50 likeliness.
I went higher on the boldness here. I'm going to go 75 on this because we really don't know a whole lot about Loray, and he has not appeared in a professional game yet. So it's, at this point, what we know is the Orioles went above slot to get him from a commitment from BYU. He was graded pretty highly among prep prospects in Arizona, but we know from some national reports there are questions about the hit tool. Outside of that, we really don't know a whole lot about Loray, but the little bit we do have is encouraging. So I'm going to go 75 on boldness and 45 on plausibility because Nate George set a little bit of a precedence last year. Normally I'd put the plausibility lower than that for a guy that I don't feel like I have a lot of background on, but if he can do what George did last year or do anything close to it, the Orioles have shown they're willing to reward that kind of play with aggressive promotions. So it is possible at that point that if in a few weeks he's off to a strong start in the FCL and he gets to bump up to Delmarva, we could be looking at him in Frederick at the end of the year.
I said 70-40. I just feel like there were more hints that George could be something really intriguing after the draft. Not the level of prospect he is now. Nothing hinted at that much, but just hinted that he could be a really intriguing guy to keep. I think we tagged him as the probably most intriguing round 11 through 20 prospect last year's draft, in that post-draft show, I think we tagged Nate George as like the most intriguing prospect the Orioles took in that draft class. And now look at where he's at. I just think the Orioles have a pretty rare hit here with George, to be honest. I appreciate how aggressive they were where they drafted Jaden Loray. I think he's going to play the same style that Nate George does. But yeah, that's a pretty incredibly high bar that Nate George set last year.
Okay, so let's move on to Mark, who says Vance Honeycutt finishes in the top 5 in the Eastern League. That's AA, I believe, in home runs.
I said 70 boldness, like 30 plausibility. The spring training run was fun. He does look a little bit more composed in 2 high games. We don't really have much of a sample there, but I'm pulling for the Honeycutt rebound this year, but I think that is a pretty huge stretch. Just hopefully he can hit high A pitching first. We still haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, I went 70-25 on this one. I'm hoping that we're going to see a rebound this year, but like I brought up in our live show when this question about Honeycutt came up, I could kind of see a Judd Fabian, Creed Willems, or at least what Creed Willems used to do when he was promoted to a level in season where dominates at one level, and then he'll get up to the next level, and it's going to be a lot of peaks and valleys, where he'll have some weeks where he looks completely lost at the plate, and he'll come back out the following week, hit 400 with a couple of homers. So that might be the best-case scenario for Honeycutt this year as I see it, and that's not a bad thing, especially considering where he's coming from after that really disastrous 2025 season at Aberdeen, but if that's the kind of player you're looking at, I don't see that being a guy that's top 5 in a major offensive category at the level, especially when he's not starting the season at that level.
I'm going to say 70-40. Mostly agree with you guys. I do think my bold prediction is the poly market stock value of Vance Honeycutt is going from super high to nadir, and not all the way back up, but pretty high. If can we get that bet on Kalshi or whatever the hell it's called? But I
official
do like
partner of Major League Baseball.
right. Just like Sora is an official partner of Disney. Oops. But I do think that Honeycutt is going to bounce back and have a really strong year. I think that is a good prediction. I just think this is taking it above and beyond, which, hey, that's what this episode's all about. So, good stuff.
And we're now going to turn this on ourselves, and this exercise will come as part of our final segment. Last Call, brought to you by Checker Spot Brewing. Located at 1421 Ridley Street, Checker Spot is not far from Camden Yards, making it the perfect place for a pre- or post-game drink this season. It's also worth noting, too, Checker Spot is open 7 days a week, so if you want to go in there when the Orioles are on the road or they're home and check out a game there, definitely a place worthwhile with good TVs, plenty of good food and drink as well. That's Checker Spot Brewing at 1421 Ridley Street in South Baltimore, open 7 days a week. Now, we're going to do this exercise ourselves. We're going to give our own bold prospect predictions to be graded by the rest of us. And we don't know yet what our bold predictions are from each of each other. So, Nick, I'll start with you here. What is your bold prospect prediction?
I'm gonna make a last minute adjustment, and I'll just add the Connors. I'll change the pitcher. So this is probably isn't going to be as bold. I want to say Levi Wells pitches. I'm not going to do exactly like Connors. I'm just going to say Levi Wells pitches in the playoffs this year for the Baltimore Orioles.
I like it. I think I agree with it, but it is still pretty bold considering he's, the third highest or third most likely guy to even make the debut. But I mean, he's off to a good start, whereas Nestor Urman and Trey Gibson have had some bumps in the road early on so far. But I think he's got the stuff to be able to do it. I'm going to say 60-50 on that one.
I'm going to go 60-50 as well.
For me, I've been looking at this all night trying to think of something. I'm going to say Alex Pham, Ryan Long, and Cameron Weston all pitch in the major leagues. All make their major league debut in 2026.
60 boldness, Because it's 3 guys, it's a lot. And you got Gibson, Herman, Wells. You got some of these starters here who I don't know, could provide some help for the Orioles in a big league bullpen. Plausibility, 45. I don't. Pham had the rough first outing in AAA. At least he's in AAA now. And it seems like he might be staying there. We know the pitch data on Pham is actually a lot of fun. He was pumping like some 95, 96s, I think, in that Norfolk. I don't know if he got up to 96 or just 95, but the velo looked really good. And his second outing was much better than his first outing with Norfolk in the bullpen role. So, I don't know. It's like a 1-inning stint. I mean, give the kid a shot and see what happens. Weston, we've talked about a lot about what his role could be, although he's been struggling again to find the strike zone, I think, early on this year. Who was the other guy you said? Pham?
Ryan Long.
Ryan Long, dude. If he's going to be
He
throwing...
looks incredible.
Yeah, if he's going to be throwing upper 90s, like... I feel like the Orioles have kind of told us, but if that newfound velo is there, like the Trace Bright situation, I mean, that's fun. If you strictly... Because he's been in that relief role last 2 years, but it's like that piggyback role. Just 1 inning, 2 inning max for Ryan Long. I think that's a different story.
Yeah, I'm going to go 65 on boldness and 35 on plausibility because I think that it would be... If all 3 of these guys debut, it probably means that the Orioles' pitching depth has taken a pretty big hit, which is actually a little bit plausible, but... a lot would have to break certain ways for all 3 of these guys to debut. I do think we're going to see Weston at some point this year, just because he can give you length. That stuff might be kind of interesting out of the bullpen. And Nick's right. If what we saw from Ryan Long in his debut over this past week is a sign of things to come, he could be in that conversation by the end of the year. So for my bold prediction, I'm going to recycle one that I made a few weeks ago, but I'm going to expand on it a little bit. I had said on an episode recently that I think Vahiva Aloy and Nate George both go 3 levels this year. Frederick, Chesapeake, Norfolk. They end the year there. But I'm going to go ahead and add on Ike Iris to that mix. If Iris is going to play enough first base this year, I could see him getting to AAA, especially with how advanced that bat is. So the catching was the thing that initially made me think that they were going to slow him down, but there's enough catching depth that they probably don't have to start him back there consistently, and he could hit his way to AAA before the season ends.
I think he should never play a game of catcher again, but that's just me. Focus that energy on just getting the ball off the ground a little bit more often. I like it. I think that's pretty plausible in the fact that, I mean, Irish and Aloy, I could easily see it. George, I think it would have to take more continued excellence on his part, which he's obviously fully capable of doing. I'll say 50, 55.
Yeah, I'm going to say boldness, 50. Plausibility, 50-50. I like that. I want to be aggressive on Ike Irish and Vahiva. Now, granted, that's if all 3 stick in the organization all year. But, yeah, Ike Irish, I agree. I said right after the draft, probably on draft night, I hope he never catches a game with the Orioles. Put him in right field, let the bat play. And then John Muley talked me out of that when he had him on the show. And then they trade Caden Bodine, and it's like, okay, yeah, this makes a lot more sense. I get, when you're talking about prospect value, it makes a lot of sense. All the pieces are lining up here for Ike Irish to play more behind the plate. He wasn't listed as a catcher in the spring breakout game. He's not listed as a catcher on the roster in Frederick. He's playing first base, I think, primarily. So I think he can move a little bit more quickly. Just let that bat sing. He had a beautiful hit the other day. Opposite field, line drive, double, I believe. Vahiva Aloy, if he's going to make good contact, sky's the limit with Vahiva Aloy. Yeah, Nate George is just Nate George. He's flat out crazy in the best way possible. But Aloy, I just hope he's okay, because I think in the first game he got hit with that line. He was at third, and he got hit with a foul ball, and then didn't play the next game. And then they got rained out on Sunday, so he should be okay. Maybe just give him the day off just to be safe. But yeah, I'm uber aggressive on especially Irish and Aloy. But if all 3, why not? Let's go with these younger guys, especially the these are two Irish and Aloy. I mean, these guys were carving up the SEC last year. They shouldn't need much time in High A, and Double A. The bat should play pretty well.
Yeah, all I know is it was a great first taste of all the teams in play this weekend, but I am so ready for the first full week of minor league full season ball. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And this is going to be late by the time you're hearing this if you're listening on the podcast version, but see ya, Braden Smith. I don't know if you guys saw, he was just traded to the Cardinals.
Oh, that's random.
Braden Smith was traded to St. Louis for reliever Nick Rackett.
Interesting. Okay.
We'll end on that note. Have a good night.
More to come.
And with that does
podcast after this.
And with that does it for this episode. You can follow us on social media throughout the week. We will be back next week. In the meantime, check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X, TikTok, YouTube, Blue Sky, and Twitch. We're also over at Substack, OriolesOnTheVerge.substack.com. And while you're browsing around the internet, be sure to head over to Patreon.com and sign up to become a member of our Patreon community today at $3, $5, or $10 levels. Once you become a paying member of our Patreon community, you'll have access to bonus weekly coverage from Bob, Nick, and myself, as well as monthly updates to our top 50 list, access to Patreon-exclusive channels within our Discord community, and a whole lot more, so be sure to check that out at Patreon.com. For Bob Phelan and Nick Stevens, this is Zach Spen. You've been listening to Orioles on the Verge, part of the Believe Podcast Network.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.